In the world of outreach, people are constantly saying that cold calling is dead. Well, you know what? Cold calling is far from dead. In fact, it is still one of the best ways to land a high quality appointment. Your prospects are getting bombarded by emails, LinkedIn outreaches, social messages, but their phone is not ringing as much as it once was. So leveraging the right approach to cold calling changes everything. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 secrets to mastering cold calls. Check it. Number 1, get good data. There is nothing more frustrating than making a dial, reaching out to someone, and having it be the wrong person's direct number. We need to get high quality data to make sure that we're not only getting the right phone number, but that we actually have reliable information that we can then leverage when we're on the prospecting call. So make sure that before you just start dialing, it's not just about getting 100, 200 dials in a day, but make sure that you're actually using data that is truly reliable and is going to leverage the best outcomes. Number 2, find people with the most likely need. We must be calling on people that are most likely to say yes to an appointment. So let's take the most basic example. If you're just calling on a phone book of people, you're very likely to get a lot of pushback from a lot of those people. So what we want to do is we want to slice and dice our calling list to make sure that we're actually reaching out to people that are most likely to need what we have. Let's just say if you are in the recruiting space, who's most likely to need what you have? Well, it's people in organizations that are currently hiring or that are currently going through some kind of transition or growth. On the other hand, if you're in the consulting space, how can you identify prospects and companies that are most likely to need what you have? Even if you're selling to a consumer, right? Who is most likely to need what you have from the outside perspective? Make sure that you're making calls to those people as opposed to just a super broad list. Number 3, get comfortable with discomfort. It's so important that we start to build that muscle around getting comfortable doing the thing that makes most people uncomfortable. 99 out of 100 people are terrified of making a cold call. And that's because they've never done it. And let's face it, the first cold call you ever make is by far the hardest. Each time you do it, it gets easier. It's just like exercise or learning any other skill. The more you do it, the more you expose yourself to what's uncomfortable, the more likely you are to get comfortable and just feel at ease in that situation, because your prospects are going to sense your comfort and they're going to respond so much better to someone using the exact same script if they are just simply really comfortable in that setting. Number 4, open with a tone of confidence. This builds off of the last point of being comfortable. When you are using a tone that just exudes confidence, the prospect is going to naturally respond more positively. And by the way, I'm not talking about using a tone that's super salesy and high energy and enthusiastic. That's not what I mean by confidence. I mean literally a tone of confidence that demonstrates that you're not nervous in this situation. So let me give you 2 examples of a tone that is not confident versus a tone that is confident. If a salesperson opens the call with something like, "Hey, George, Mark Washek here. How are you today?" That's ironically not demonstrating confidence. It's actually almost overdoing it. It's masking the fact that we're really uncomfortable. Versus a salesperson who's simply opening the call with something along the lines of, "George, Mark Washek here. Did I catch you at a bad time?" That's demonstrating a level of natural confidence that the other salesperson is masking and the prospect is immediately going to want to end the call with in that first scenario, versus the second where they're demonstrating and they're showing that they're just so comfortable in that situation. Number 5, remember that they can't hurt you. I always talk about with people in my community, we've got to remember that we are playing a video game when we're making a prospecting call. That's all you're doing, right? You're plugging into some network of people and you're calling on strangers that physically are likely to never see you ever, right? They can't touch you. They can't hurt you. They can't hit you. They can't attack you. All they can do is say whatever they're going to say. While I know that in our brain seems pretty scary, the reality is that they can't hurt us, right? You're not going off to war here. You're simply making a prospecting call. And the simple recognition that they can't physically attack us or hurt us suddenly makes you realize, you know what? This isn't that bad. We're not even literally getting calluses on our hands. We're just making a prospecting call. And so take a deep breath and recognize that they cannot hurt us. Number 6, use a tight script. Salespeople constantly say, oh, I hate to use a script because it makes me sound scripted. But my response to that is always the same, which is that if you sound scripted when you use a script, it just means that you're not good at using your script. There is an entire industry known as Hollywood, which has dedicated itself to the craft of following a script, right? That's why people win Oscars and Emmys, is because they're really good at following a script. And so what we want to do is have a tight script that keeps us on track, that makes sure that we follow the right approach, but at the same time doesn't sound scripted. Whenever people in my community are using a script, we want to encourage them to practice it to the point that it sounds so natural. But at the same time, when the prospect comes back with some kind of an objection or pushback, they already have the response scripted in. So that way there is no ambiguity. Most salespeople that don't follow a script tend to meander all over the place in their calls. And as a result, their calls are really weak. So have that tight script in place, be really comfortable with it, and follow it consistently. Number 7, be prepared with contingencies. This is super important. What's amazing is that prospects behave in a very predictable way when they are being prospected to. There are only a set of a couple of options that a prospect has at any point in the call. So let's just take the opening of the call. Let's just say that I call you and I say something like, hey, George, Mark Wayshak here. Did I catch you in the middle of something? There are only a couple of possible responses that a prospect can have to that particular question. So they may say something like, yeah, this is a bad time. Call me later, right? That's one response. They may say, no, what's up? They may just hang up, right? There's only a couple of responses that a prospect can possibly have to that opening. So what we want to do is we want to be prepared with contingencies for each response. What's amazing is that you really only have to have a couple of contingencies at different points in your script that are just ways to get the conversation back on track. So when the prospect responds with, yeah, this is a bad time, can you call me later? Instead of just saying, okay, sure, let me call you. Would it be okay if I tried you tomorrow? And then you go back and forth and you never get them back on the phone. Instead, having a response that sounds something stronger and more able to push through, something along the lines of, you know what, George, I really appreciate your saying that. Would it be okay if I took, say, 30 seconds to tell you why I called, and if after it doesn't make sense, we could hang up? Does that sound fair? Now the prospect is put into a position where they're very likely to give you that 30 seconds because you were prepared with a contingency to a very, very obvious response. So there are the 7 secrets to mastering cold calling. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an amazing free training on the step-by-step formula to closing more deals. Just click right here to get registered instantly. Seriously, just click right here. This is an in-depth training that will help you close more deals at higher prices, all while generating more meetings. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking my face, which should be right about here, to get access to a new video just like this one each week.